All right, let's just state the obvious. Today, America is the richest, most powerful country in history. But here's the crazy part. Its rise to the top, it wasn't just not inevitable, it was completely unexpected. So how on earth did that happen? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now. So this is really the heart of it all. How did a continent that was basically written off as useless lands become the most powerful country in history? I mean, how does a place that was just ignored for over 100 years after being discovered go on to completely change the world? It's a heck of a story. And believe me, it was an unexpected beginning. For well over a century, for the big European powers, North America was basically just in the way. You have to remember, when Columbus sailed west, he wasn't looking for America. He was trying to find a faster route to the riches of Asia. So when he ran into this massive landmass, it wasn't a discovery, it was a roadblock. All the good stuff, the gold and silver everyone was after, that all seemed to be way further south. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? As soon as Spain heard the magic word, gold, that was it. They put all their energy into conquering the incredible empires in Central and South America. But those huge, supposedly useless lands up north? Nah, they were pretty much left alone. But, a giant empty continent can't stay ignored forever. Eventually, other European powers started to see some potential. And that's what kicked off this very slow, century-long scramble to grab a piece of the pie. And what's interesting is you had these two totally different strategies. On one side, you had the English, who were methodically setting up colonies right on the coast, places like Jamestown and Plymouth. But at the same time, the French were claiming this absolutely massive chunk of the interior. It was pretty clear these two were on a collision course. A huge showdown was inevitable. And that showdown, it kicked off in 1754. Now, just take a look at these numbers because this is wild. You've got over 1 million people in the British colonies versus only about 60,000 in New France. That's a huge difference. So this wasn't just some border skirmish. This was the war to decide who would control the entire continent. And with numbers like that, well, the British victory changed absolutely everything. But winning a war like that isn't cheap. It came at a massive cost for Britain, a cost they decided the colonies should help pay for. And that one decision, it directly led to the birth of a whole new nation. So it all boils down to this. Britain was broke and needed money. They looked over at their pretty successful American colonies and basically said, hey, you guys can pitch in to pay for this war we just fought to protect you. The colonists, though, they had a very different take. For them, it was taxation without representation, and that simple idea became the spark that lit the revolutionary fire. And things moved incredibly fast from there. I mean, in 1776, they signed the Declaration of Independence. Just 5 years later, by 1781, the war's basically won. But, and this is a big but, winning their freedom wasn't the end of their problems. Oh no, it was just the beginning of a whole new set of them. And this quote just gets right to the heart of the chaos. Their first crack at a government? It was a complete mess. I mean, it was so bad that the 13 states were basically acting like 13 separate countries. The whole American experiment was about to fall apart, which forced the founding fathers to go back to the drawing board and create the Constitution that's still around today. Okay, so with a stable government finally in place, the brand new United States was about to get really, really lucky. The next chapter in this story is all about incredible, almost unbelievable expansion. And for this part of the story, we actually have to jump over to Europe. You've got Napoleon trying to conquer, well, everything. And wars are expensive, so he needed cash, fast. He looked at his territories in America and didn't see an asset. He saw a headache, a liability, especially if it meant the Americans might team up with his biggest enemy, Great Britain. So Napoleon comes back with an offer that is just mind-blowing. The Americans had only asked to buy the port of New Orleans. Instead, he offered them everything, the entire Louisiana territory, for just $15 million. To this day, it's still considered one of the greatest real estate deals in all of human history. And just like that, literally overnight, the country doubled in size. This one single purchase completely changed the scale and the future of the United States. A vast continent was now wide open. And believe it or not, that was just the beginning of the sprint to the Pacific. In less than 50 years, think about that. Through a combination of buying land, annexing territory, and fighting a really controversial war with Mexico, the United States stretched all the way from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The whole from sea to shining sea thing became a reality. But all this incredible expansion was hiding a deep, dark problem that was festering inside the country. It was an issue that would eventually tear the nation apart and put this whole unexpected superpower experiment to its ultimate test. Could it even survive? And that problem, of course, was slavery. This wasn't just a political disagreement. You had two fundamentally incompatible societies trying to exist as one country. For the South, slavery was the engine of their entire economy. For a growing number of people in the North, it was a great evil, a moral stain that just had to be stopped. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860 was the final straw. The Southern states saw him as a direct threat to their way of life, so they seceded. This plunged the nation into the absolute bloodiest, most brutal war in its history. The North's victory came at a terrible price, hundreds of thousands of lives. But it did two crucial things. It saved the country, and it ended the institution of slavery for good. So, as the nation starts this long, painful process of putting itself back together, you'd think they'd take a break from expanding, right? Nope. That expansionist mindset kicks right back in. In a move that feels almost bizarre so soon after the war, the U.S. buys Alaska from Russia for just $7 million. Yet another incredible land deal that would really pay off down the road. All right, so at this point, America is a single, unified giant stretching across a whole continent. There was only one step left: to turn its gaze outward and start projecting that power around the world. And this comparison right here, it perfectly captures the identity crisis the country was having. Was America going to be this just nation that never misuses its power? Or was it going to be a great power that acts in its own self-interest? Because hey, if we don't take Hawaii, someone else will. This debate really showed that fundamental tension. Well, self-interest won out. In 1898, the U.S. just crushes Spain in a short war, which basically ends the old Spanish Empire and kicks off an American one. The U.S. grabs territory in the Caribbean and the Pacific, officially annexes Hawaii as a naval base, and then, to top it all off, builds the Panama Canal, giving it total control over two oceans. So by 1914, those once dismissed useless lands had become a true global power. The unexpected rise was complete. But here's the kicker. Just as America is stepping onto the world stage, World War I is kicking off in Europe. This brand new power was about to be tested immediately. Which leaves us all with one big question.